Welcome back to Daily DeFi. Today is May 13th of 2021, Thursday. Hope everyone is doing well. Yesterday, we took a little break from the daily episodes, and now we're seeing total value locked in back down to $80 billion. We'll be covering Loopring, Synthetix, Aave, Vitalik wanting Uniswap to switch to a governance token, as well as being flooded with Bitcoin ETFs. Now, this is what the one person from Gibraltar says, so take that as you will, but it is kind of an interesting piece of sentimental analysis to see this narrative shift. That's always kind of what I'm looking for is mainly you have to identify the narrative with it, and from the narrative, you should go from kind of beginning to end. So you should go, okay, what's the impetus for this, which he kind of explains in this article, and then what's the end game? Begin with the end in mind. So just because you identify a narrative doesn't mean you can capitalize on it. You have to think it all the way through in order to really form a proper thesis around it. So starting off with DeFi Pulse and Juicy NFTs, total value locked in decentralized finance is at $80.67 billion, dropping a little bit from yesterday, where maker dominance is at 17.19%, followed by a nice little juicy drop in the DeFi Pulse index. Could be an interesting opportunity if you are looking to average into kind of like an ETF for decentralized finance. And the beautiful thing is it's not a centralized ETF. It's literally just having a stake kind of in all of the top projects. And just really having kind of a diversified play instead of just picking one individual project. Maker, Aave, and Compound still in those top three spots. Spread out a little bit. Compound was at that number one spot a little bit ago. Now Maker and Aave are kind of establishing their positions on top. So moving on to Juicy NFTs, the daily volume is up 132%. This is such a crazy volatile market. That's why I like tracking it every day. It's kind of interesting just to watch. Yesterday it was pretty ballistic. Right now we're sitting at about $1.7 million transacted on the daily, the majority of that taken up by CryptoPunks. Now, moving on to this article from Decrypt, we will be flooded by Bitcoin ETFs, Gibraltar Finance Minister. So Gibraltar's Minister of Digital and Financial Services, Albert Isola, expects that the United States Security and Exchange Commission will approve a Bitcoin ETF this year. And once those gates are open, it will be booming, because just like, when you had something like gold ETF rollout, that went ballistic because people didn't know, owning the bullion, like actual physical gold, is a little bit harder than just owning kind of a diversified exchange traded fund, which is ideally what happens. If that does roll out, that could make giant moves in how this plays out moving forward. So Albert Isola raised concerns about the lack of supervisory measures for administering the fund. So that is very, very important to understand. There's not a ton of things going for this, but I think, again, once those gates are open, it will be flooded by this. And that's what's very, very important to see. Also, if you follow along with this series, you could start listening to Decrypt's like kind of daily podcast, which is quite interesting. I'm moving on to CoinTelegraph. So Vitalik says Uniswap should become an Oracle token. So the key thing to understand is Uniswap, the current Uni token that was airdropped, is being used currently just as a governance token, and you have to hold a ridiculous amount of it to have actually participation in the governance. There's many other things you can do with it that, like, you can stake it, for example, or be a liquidity provider and earn passive income. But with this, he's basically trying to say, okay, no, this should actually turn into something where you're aggregating all this data from the decentralized exchange, Uniswap, since you guys have first access to it, and then provide it as an oracle for things like TradingView, or maybe a better version of TradingView. There are a lot of problems currently with the TradingView system. I use it for technical analysis, but I know some people prefer other charting systems. And I think one of the problems that TradingView has is the oracle. So if you go, for example, like USDT, BTC, or BTC ETH on these different exchanges, sometimes there's clear gaps in the data, and this provides for some problems. So maybe something that's direct, kind of from the horse's mouth, if you will, with Uniswap, kind of taking the oracle play. I think, honestly, if they do this, we could see Uniswap go from this top 5 spot to this top spot, because think about that, the oracle play. I mean, that's ridiculous. So they might even spin off another token. Maybe it'll be like, it would be, honestly, I'm not saying this will happen, but it would be hilarious if it was like Uni and the other token was like corn or something like that. So it's like, unicorn. Let's see. So I'm not saying at all that they will drop another token, but if they do, it'll probably be an airdrop style. So keep that keep that in mind, I guess you could say, as far as that goes. So we're seeing the top DeFi tokens. Let's refresh this here. Sorry about that. Again, yesterday the daily DeFi was pushed back a little bit because I just had a lot of things going on with family. It was a full day of kind of fishing, and yes. So right here you can see these top DeFi coins. Yesterday I have these three pulled out that were doing very, very well because I was about to do daily DeFi, but I didn't quite have time. The reason everything's dumping today is because Bitcoin took a dump. And the sad thing is so many retail people sold when they heard their kind of leader, Elon Musk. The problem is Elon's like, I think it's great to learn lessons from him, but this religious following is terrible. And so many people do this with investing. Like they're so into Tesla and kind of the cult there, if you will, that they've kind of, they've drank the Kool-Aid. And whenever he says one thing, like Bitcoin isn't environmentally friendly, they all dump. And it's like, man, the institutions are just buying now. So I see opportunities currently in Link. I see opportunities in pretty much anything that's in this pattern. I was buying cake around 60 cents, and I started talking about it on the channel around $1. Now look at this recent pattern it's in. Look at the past 7-day pattern. Okay, if you believe in the project fundamentally, I believe in kind of averaging in on the weekly. So same with Avalanche, pretty nice opportunity. Synthetix maybe not so much. But let's take a look at how these all were doing yesterday. They were all up very, very nicely. And then again, since Bitcoin it does have that dominance, when the dominance is high and it does a pullback, we do see a pullback in these. But these are just kind of the price action yesterday. And you can see how volatile this market is because Aave today, is down 2.75%. So yesterday, at least, they were up 23%, right around $550, market cap of $7 billion, kind of just in this really just sideways moving pattern. You could call, there really isn't a quite triangle there. It's really just a rectangle if you're looking at it on TradingView. I talk about how to trade a pattern like that in the global TA course. And then moving on to Synthetix, SNX, 18.8 on the daily, or yesterday on the daily, up about 10%. Still fairly low market cap for what they're doing. They're tapping into the derivatives market by having synthetic assets on the blockchain. So I think this is going to be a massive, massive project, especially in the next bull run when people really start understanding this, that they don't have to use some centralized service. They can literally just go on something like Synthetix or something like Spartan Protocol or Serum and trade synthetic assets on the blockchain 24/7, 365, no brokerage house, none of that BS, no 9 to 5 trading anytime you want, like the crypto market is how it should be. So Loopring LRC, 71 cents, about 13% up on the daily. You can see it's still pulled back. This is kind of like a project that helps other projects on Ethereum build another layer and basically create a decentralized exchange. So that's essentially all for today's Daily DeFi. Let me know what you think about these two articles, what you think about these three tokens doing well today, or yesterday, sorry, and today kind of having this bit of a pullback, So, the key thing to keep in mind is everything's having a bit of a pullback today, and it's kind of because what I explained with Elon and kind of the whole situation going on there. So that's important to take into account with sentimental analysis. Like if Elon starts getting back, when a guy like that starts backing like an individual currency that actually has value, not something like Dogecoin, like if he gets behind something like, I don't know, if he goes all in on the Solana ecosystem and he says, SpaceX is going to be the first Solana ecosystem rocket, Tesla is going to use the Solana blockchain, that's where I could see a nice play. So I'm more looking at infrastructure plays versus on betting which horse will win the race. I'm looking at what are all the horses need to run the race. That's what I really look at, and that's how I kind of look at investing in something like this, because I then am able to pull profits along the way. I'm able to identify trends, and I'm not stuck into some ideology that really gets you hurt. You don't want to be just the follower. You don't want to be a sheep. And I hate the people that say sheeple, but sometimes it's true. Sometimes it is true. So that's pretty much all for today's episode. I hope you guys kind of understand the synthesis of basically what I'm trying to say. That's all for today's Daily DeFi. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments down below. Also, like, subscribe, button all, invest global, and until next time.